Hi, Founders friends. Miss you guys. Hope you're doing well. Just thought I would see how you're doing and thought I could wish you some hope by reading a book that my friend, he illustrated, and it's called The Little Hope Book. Once there was a boy who had hope, and it was beautiful. High above on the edge of a sunset, hope was smiling down on me. I could have never done this without you, girl. Hope meowed in excitement as I leaned forward carefully on my ladder to add one last touch of color. Josh! Suddenly my paintbrush disappeared and a half-bitten pencil flew from my hand. I can't believe you're daydreaming again, said Mrs. Crouch, and before I could even blink, she slapped another one of her famous red notes on my desk and said, "Second time this week, Josh. What is your father going to say? Sometimes it's hard to be a dreamer." I raced home from school and burst through the front door. There she was, waiting for me in her favorite sun spot. I scooped up her warm calico body, looked into her half-asleep sag eyes, and said, "Little Hope, I'm glad to see you. Anyone who knew me knew she was my best friend." "You're getting big, big girl," I joked. It was funny to think of how small she was once. The screen door closed behind us as we walked out into the backyard and sat under the blossoming mountain ash tree. I pulled out my pencil and began sketching the moon. Thoughts of Mrs. Crouch, the red note, and my daydream began tumbling in my head. "I don't understand, girl. They tell you to dream, but when you do, they just make fun of you. It doesn't matter. My dream is never going to come true anyway." Hope reached out her angel white paw and placed it in the center of the moon. "You're right, girl. With you, I always have a little hope." Dad came home late from work with his name tag on crooked, just in time to answer Mrs. Crouch's phone call. "Another red note today, Josh?" I was so nervous. All I could do was count my P's. On Tuesday, you were drawing cartoons instead of taking notes, and now you're staring off into space? Life is not one big... Mom interrupted Dad in a softer voice and said, "School is very important, honey, even to artists." Embarrassed and alone, I sat in silence as my parents talked about their day. No one seemed to believe in my dream. Not Mrs. Crouch, not my parents, or the kids at school. The only thing that kept the tear from falling was a gentle purr reminding me I had hope. When I opened my bedroom door, the golden moon was already asleep on my patchy quilt. I sat down in the center of the light and started to cry. Just then, I heard a squeak, and the door suddenly opened. It seemed like every minute I wanted to give up, hope would somehow appear. Even on a day like today, there was always a little hope. So I proudly picked up my pencil and drew my best friend. That night, Hope and I dreamed we were pirates sailing over the Lost Malachite Islands. The next day at school, I told myself to try harder, and I did! I was the first person in ready position after recess. I ignored Matt's paper airplane made from his spelling words, and Mrs. Crouch even winked at me when she gave the class 5 minutes of free time. "What good choices we all made today," she said, giggling and clapping her hands. I quickly pulled out my sketchbook. I had waited patiently all day, and finally the time had come to work on my latest drawing. When I burst through the front door, I was surprised. Hope was not waiting for me in her usual sunspot. Hope, I called out to her, and she did not come. The only sound I could hear was the ticking of Mom's antique clock in the dining room. Hope, where are you, girl? I was scared. Upstairs, downstairs, outside, inside. I even searched in places I knew she would not be. When there was nowhere left to look, I ran into the phone to call Mom. Suddenly, it was ringing at me. All I remember is my mom saying something about an accident, the veterinary's office, and that we lost Hope. There was nothing anyone could do. I asked the sun why I never got to say goodbye. I asked the moon to tell me where she went. I even asked the falling snowflakes to bring her back for just one more day. Months and months went by without my best friend, and I had indeed lost my hope. Four years later. I heard the shuffling of leaves behind me, and then there was a voice. Well, isn't that beautiful? I just love the smell of watercolors in the afternoon, don't you? I looked up, gave the strange old woman a half smile, and kept painting. I really didn't want to be bothered today. Do you mind if I take a look closer? She asked. Before I could answer, she plucked herself beside me and let out a long sigh. Her fuzzy scarf flew high into the air and smacked my chin. I could tell this wasn't going to be a short visit. Everything that day was quiet and dreamy. Autumn leaves leapt gracefully from the trees to the old woman's worn boots. Who is that, my little Da Vinci? She asked. It's just a picture of a cat, I answered, trying to avoid the question. That doesn't look like just any cat, she smiled. She looks special. She was, I said. Her name was Hope. But I lost her. Ah, Pandora, the old woman whispered with her eyes closed. No, ma'am, not Pandora. I spoke a little louder. I lost Hope. Looking into my eyes, she could see that I didn't understand. The old woman took a deep breath, reminding me to breathe, and she told me this. In Greek mythology, Pandora was the first woman she made in heaven with all that would make her perfect. Her name meant all the gifted, and indeed Pandora was given many gifts. Venus blessed her with unrelated beauty, Athena endowed her with remarkable intelligence, and even the mighty Zeus gave her a small wooden box. I know this box is beautiful, he warned, but you should never open it. As time passed, Pandora's curiosity grew, and she wondered what the box contained. When she brushed her hair, she thought of it. When she sat by the river, she thought of it. Every day when she woke, she could hear the box calling her name. Pandora, Pandora. One day she could take the mystery no longer. Holding the box between her hands, Pandora promised herself that if she opened it for the slightest look, no one would ever know. Instantly the woman grew dark as Zeus's hidden misfortunes flew from the box. Worry, greed, and envy escaped before Pandora's hands could catch them. For the first time in her life, Pandora felt fear. I shifted nervously in my seat. But then the story changed. My little Da Vinci, a tiny glow coming from within the box, caught Pandora's eyes, reaching out with all her gifted courage. Pandora quickly shut the lid, saving the last and only light. Do you know what we call that light? The old woman questioned. I felt a tingle go down my spine. Hope, the old woman replied. Unfolding her wrinkled hands, Pandora saved hope. It is the one thing that can never be lost. Do you see, my little Da Vinci? There may not be a lot of hope, she said, patting my drawing, but there's always a little hope. As I rose to leave the park bench, I could feel something growing inside of me that I had not felt in almost 4 years. And just have to follow your dreams, my little Da Vinci, the old woman said. And I did. That night, hope came back to me in a dream. I was all alone when out of the darkness emerged a small moonlit paw. Hope, I exclaimed, but before I could reach her, she transformed into an elephant tiger. She was the new Hope, and high above her was the new Hope moon. I woke up, dashed for my color pencils, and began illustrating my dream. With every push of the pencil, my dream was becoming real. It was my first masterpiece, and Hope was still right beside me. Sitting in the quiet of the cabin, I looked through old photos and drawings of Hope. From my first cartoons to playing under the mountain ash tree to the old woman in the park, the memories were coming together to tell her story in my dream. Before I knew it, I had filled up an entire napkin of ideas. All I needed was my sketchbook from the car and the perfect ending. I had to admit, for a second, I had my usual doubts. Was this dream too big? Could I tell the story of Hope? You will never believe what I saw when I stepped outside. High above on the edge of a sunset, Hope was smiling down at me. I could have never done this without you, girl. This will be our greatest masterpiece. Yes, it was beautiful. The end. Stay safe.